Imagine you went sleep and you never woke up. Sleep demon never let you up. Hey, I'm Walter. I journey across the globe in search of stories that challenge the limits of explanation. While many refer to them as mysteries, I'm focused on uncovering the truth, exploring the scientific reasons or hidden elements behind strange phenomena, like time travel, alien worlds, life after death, and other unexplained events. On this channel, I'll bring these intriguing stories to you. Let's dive deep and uncover what might be lurking just beyond our understanding. On a cold, silent night in a forgotten, crumbling town, there stood an ancient house with darkened windows and sealed doors, a silent witness to horrors long past. Whispers from the town's elders spoke of Azelis. The Azelis, a name never spoken aloud except in hushed tones. It preyed on the vulnerable, slipping into dreams and consuming souls, a shadow lurking only when the wind howled and the moon hung heavy in the sky. The legend of Azelis, older than the stars themselves, spoke of a demon born not of fire or shadow, but from a darker force, restless sleep that fed on the living. It wasn't a mere phantom, but a suffocating presence that infected victims with endless nightmares, slowly draining their energy and will. Azelis blurred the line between sleep and reality, trapping victims in a waking nightmare where their mind remained, but their body was lost, unable to escape, unable to die. The victims, forever caught in Azelis's eternal snare, became nothing more than echoes of themselves, their souls consumed by the Azelis' insatiable hunger. Mara, a kind woman in her 30s, moved to a small town to escape a dark past. At first, her nights were peaceful, but soon, strange dreams and whispers filled her sleep. One night, a loud knock woke her. When she opened the door, no one was there. She stepped outside into an eerie silence. To her shock, the house in front of her was the one she had left behind. Terrified, she tried to run but found herself trapped by shadows and whispers. Something dark was following her, and it was far from over. Her heart pounded as she slowly opened the door. The familiar sights of her old home greeted her, but everything felt wrong, like it was not where she was supposed to be. She stepped inside, her legs heavy, the air thick with unease. And then she saw it. Matt, her lover, standing in the middle of the room, and beside him, she saw herself. The two of them together, killing her husband. She watched as they stood over his lifeless body, the memory of the night she poisoned him flooding back. The guilt, the greed, the affair. It all came rushing back to her. She saw herself, cold and ruthless, her hands covered in his blood. Terror seized her, and she stumbled back, her body shaking. She turned to leave, to run from the nightmare. But as soon as she turned around, there it was, the Azelis. It stood in the doorway, dark and twisted, its eyes glowing with a hunger she couldn't escape. It didn't need to speak for Mara to understand. It was there for her soul. The darkness closed in on her, and she was frozen, unable to move, unable to scream, and she woke up, sitting in her bed, drenched in sweat, her body trembling. It took a moment for her to realize it was just a dream, but the fear stayed with her. As she lay in bed again, trying to fall asleep, she heard a voice. It wasn't her own, but something cold and ancient. The voice whispered,
"Whatever you've done, you don't deserve mercy. You will stay in this dream As long as the earth lives, you won't die. You won't wake. You will just sleep forever.
The words sent a chill through her. She tried to move, to scream, but her body wouldn't listen. She was trapped in the dream, and there was no way out. Azelis had her. The sins of her past had caught up with her, and now she was stuck in a nightmare that would never end. Azelis's power did not lie in physical force. It was not a creature of claws or teeth. Azelis preyed on the vulnerable, on those who were already weary from life, from worries and troubles too heavy to bear. It crept into their minds and stretched their fears until they could no longer escape. The demon could make you believe that you were awake, that the horrors of your dreams were real, that you would never escape the nightmare. Many years passed, and people slowly forgot about Mara's disappearance. She vanished without a trace, and the town was divided between two ideas. Some believed she was dead, while others thought Azelis, the sleep demon, had taken her to another dimension where such creatures lived. One quiet evening, a young man named Jonathan arrived in the town. He had heard whispers about the old house and was intrigued by the mystery. Dismissing the warnings as local superstition, he rented the house for the weekend, unaware that he was about to become part of the town's dark legend. Jonathan was brave, even eager to face Azelis, and he came prepared with holy water and a cross. He explored the house but found nothing unusual. As night fell, a strange silence settled over the place, as if even the air feared to approach. Jonathan felt uneasy, but dismissed it, finishing his dinner and heading to bed early. That night, he slept deeply, too deeply. When he awoke in the morning, he felt strangely exhausted, as though his body had fought a battle while he slept, yet he couldn't remember his dreams. He brushed it off as jet lag, but the second night was different. As Jonathan lay in bed, the temperature dropped, and a heavy, unnatural weight filled the air. He opened his eyes briefly. Everything was dark, and shadows stretched in odd shapes. Then he heard it. Breathing. Not his own, but something else, too close. And then he saw it. A figure, tall and thin, its face hidden in shadow, hovered at the foot of his bed. Jonathan's heart raced, but he couldn't move. Panic gripped him as the figure leaned closer. He could feel its chilling presence.
"Who are you?"
He managed to croak, his voice trembling.
Sleep.
Jonathan fell into a deep sleep. Soon he woke to the sound of a doorbell ringing. He opened the door to find a little girl standing there, crying.
I lost my parents at the carnival. Can you come check with me?
Jonathan asked.
"When was the last time you saw them? You need to find them."
I can't find my parents. Can you help me?
Jonathan was confused and spoke in this mind. Carnival? There's no carnival nearby. But he agreed and followed her. As they walked into the alley, everything suddenly went dark. In front of him stood a giant wheel, and carnival music filled the air. Jonathan was in shock. He looked down at the girl. She was gone. He was looking around and heard her voice from a nearby tent and followed the sound. What he saw inside shattered him. 5 years ago, Jonathan had worked as an assistant to a magician. Late one night, after the performance, while coming back to the tent, he found a lost, crying little girl. He took her into the tent, but what he did next was something no normal person would ever dare. After that incident, with a guilt mind, he left town without any trace. He came to reality, and this memory hit him hard. He realized the girl who knocked the door is the same girl from Carnival, but this time she was not real. It was his guilt. Panicking, he ran. As he exited the tent, he saw Azeli standing there. Terrified, Jonathan cried out.
I know I did wrong. After that night, I ran away. I should have faced the consequences. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
None will be spared from their wrongdoing. I will not kill you. Your guild will. You will be in this dream and watch this happen again and again for eternal time.
Azelis had already claimed him. He wasn't awake. He was trapped. And the worst part was the realization that he would never escape. His body was still lying in that bed in the house. The demon had changed him, made him believe that he had awakened, when in truth, he had never left the dream. He would never leave. Azelis had won. As Jonathan's scream echoed into the darkness, the demon whispered, "One last time," before the silence claimed him. And in the distance, a new voice whispered on the wind,